Good morning and welcome back to BeefLink TV, your daily dose of industry information. Today we're joined once again by Ian Matheson for this week's What the Papers Say. So Ian, thank you so much for joining us this morning. How was your long weekend?
Not bad, Brooke. I went along to Crystal Palace's FA Cup parade.
Of course you did.
Football again, indeed.
Yep.
But our thoughts have to go out to the Liverpool fans, of course, injured during yesterday's incident in the city.
Yeah, it was certainly a shock. I got a message from my friend who actually lives in Liverpool and she told me the news and it sort of came out of nowhere, didn't it?
It did, yeah. But we should crack on. There's been a lot of relevant news in the last few days. Zenita posed a question: how high will ocean freight rates go after the USA and China lowered tariffs for 90 days? That's a question, of course, that many BIFA members are seeking an answer to. The current spike in freight rates shows how quickly situations can come full circle and why it is so difficult for shippers and forwarders to manage supply chains against such uncertainty. We've already seen surcharges, as you know, and general rate increase announcements. I guess the answer, of course, Brooke, is whatever level shippers are willing to pay to ensure their goods are shipped.
Yeah, of course. And I know the container index, it went up again last week, didn't it? I think it was another 2%.
That's right, Brooke. It's gone up to $2,276 per 40 foot, the Drury Container Index. Yeah. Uh, just to remind viewers that always we put links to all these articles in the panel below. And meanwhile, the EU road freight rates dropped quarter on quarter for the first quarter of 2025, according to Transport Intelligence, and that's continuing their gradual decline.
I think that reflects kind of the downward pressure in that market anyway, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Transport Intelligence actually also said that after the US government's attempts to strangle the de minimis trade, other economies are now considering their approach to de minimis consignments. TI said that member states of the G7 organisation have started to discuss the matter, although they admit there are many issues to overcome in the implementation of any changes. The EU, as you know, Brooke, has already suggested that de minimis regulations could be changed, but no indication of how any changes would be enacted.
Yeah, and I know that this is something that our members active in that sector, they'll keep a very active eye on, won't they?
I think so, yeah. In general business, BDO's UK mergers and acquisition update indicates that the UK's logistics industry has continued to see stable levels of deal making activity so far in 2025, despite the significant economic headwinds that the industry faces. The accountancy and business advisory firm says mergers and acquisitions appetite remains strong, and they say it's being driven by overseas interest, private investment, and an ongoing wish by buyers to increase efficiencies and expand their operations and service offerings.
I know that BDO, I think, reported 18 deals in the first quarter. So, like you said, that appetite is still going strong, isn't it?
Yeah. In service news, I saw that Maritime Transport launched two intermodal rail services connecting London Gateway with Hams Hall and iPort Doncaster. They run from Monday to Saturday and both operate in partnership with GB Rail Freight. And I understand that additional services are likely, expanding connectivity between major UK ports and some strategic rail freight terminals.
Of course, it sounds like another kind of practical lower carbon alternative to road freight, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah. And about time for a little bit of BIFA news, Brooke. Last week, you know that BIFA responded to the announcements that followed the EU UK Trade Summit, which suggested some practical commitments to improve regulatory cooperation cross border. On behalf of BIFA members, the Trade Association called for more facilitated solutions in regards to how the UK trades with the EU. And finally, there appears to have been some progress on this. And that's especially in regards to cooperation on sanitary and phytosanitary measures, which should cut costs, complexities, and delays that disrupt trade flows. And we can only hope the announcement will significantly simplify border processes and consequently contribute to increased volumes of goods traded between the UK and the EU.
Yeah, of course. And it's now down to the government to kind of work out those practical solutions, isn't it? But I know that BIFA will support those efforts in all the case.
Indeed. And last week, Brooks saw another well attended and very successful BIFA charity golf day,
Mm-hmm.
which again
Yeah,
raised funds for TransAid.
it did. And I know that our winning team was from Westbound Logistics this time. So a very big congratulations to that team.
Indeed, and fans of BIFA Link should take note that the June edition could be a collector's item. It
Yes.
will be
Yeah.
the last printed edition of the magazine, which is going fully digital from the July edition.
Yes, that edition should be landing on members' desks very shortly, a couple of days into the month. But like you said, a collector's edition.
Mhm. And Brooke, I hear you've made the news.
Yep,
Shortlisted as a finalist in the Apprentice of the Year category of the Every Woman in Transport and Logistics Awards.
I am indeed.
Well done, and I hope you
Thank you.
emerge victorious, like Christmas Palace, at the awards ceremony on June the 26th.
Yeah, it's still a bit of a shock. It hasn't sunk in yet, but I know that you can't be with us on that day because you're getting a new hip. So I hope all goes well on that. I think it's quite selfish of you actually to not move your surgery.
Yeah, you can have that discussion with my wife. And finally, to end on a lighter note, last week a gentleman in Norway woke up to find a container ship parked in his front garden,
As you
missing
do.
his home where he was sleeping by just a few meters. Johan Hellberg had been sound asleep when the 135-meter long container ship ran aground.
It certainly takes door-to-door logistics to the next extreme, doesn't it, Ian? Well, thank you so much, as always, for bringing all of this to our attention. As you mentioned earlier, everything we've discussed today will be in the description below. That's all for today's edition of BeefLink TV, your daily dose of industry information.